Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the Lore Pod Podcast. I'm Benny, host, Dakota Morgan, coming to you from Phoenix, Arizona. And today we're going to be diving into the world of DC Comics because, of course, we have Superman by James Gunn, well, directed by James Gunn, appearing in theaters as of now. And by fucking God, am I excited for this movie. Absolute hype. And you can fucking bet there is going to be a bonus episode on this, on the Lore Pod Podcast. So stay tuned for a bonus episode later on with the premiere of this and the premiere of Superman. So stay tuned for that review episode because we're going to be diving into that. In case you didn't know, I am a huge Superman fan. I've written articles on how Superman has saved my life from suicide in the past, which we might talk about here on the Lore Pod Podcast. But those articles are out there as well. Written about them, talked about them on podcasts plenty of times over on the Comic Chronicle podcast, available wherever you listen to podcasts. It's the other show I ran. Shh, don't tell I'm cheating. That's the other show I ran for about almost 7 years. So if you want comic interviews and such like that over there, go check it out. But today we're going to be talking about a very interesting Superman storyline in celebration of the Superman movie, and it's going to be called The Doomsday Virus. And this was in the New 52, and by God, I will fucking die on my hill that the New 52 actually did work. And I did love New 52. I have my own reasons for that, and I'll dive into those at a later point on the podcast. Now, a little background, though, because New 52 was very large with a lot of fucking intricate details. At this time of this storyline appearing in New 52, now Superman is dating Wonder Woman instead of Lois Lane, which is why Wonder Woman in the storyline has a little bit of different motivation. And Lois Lane has been brainwashed by Brainiac. The iconic Superman villain Brainiac, he is controlling her. She doesn't know about it at all. He's in the brain and gives her a little bit of telepathic powers. This all comes to play, ladies and gentlemen, and everyone in between. It comes into play. Now, during this time, we start with the story of Doomsday appears. And it appears on islands, and over 3,000 people have now fucking died because of Doomsday. Which shouldn't be a shock at all if you know Doomsday. The iconic Superman villain who did kill him back in the 90s. Quote-unquote kill. Apparently, he's changed, morphed a lot, looks a little bit different. That's because apparently he's merged into a full-grown adult. And we learned that the one Superman faced where he, quote-unquote, died was an adolescent, not a full mature adult. And with this one, he has a virus around him and an aura, as they say these days. As the kids say these days, an aura around him that causes a lot of things to die, catch on fire and such as well. So everything the army throws at him dies. Now, during this time as well, a brainwashed Lois Lane investigates Smallville. Because a loads amount of people in the Smallville, Kansas, the home of Superman, where he was growing up, of course, loads amount of people have gone into a coma, so it's very mysterious. Now the Justice League is tracking Doomsday, of course, because why the fuck would they not? And they all determined that Doomsday is looking for Superman. I should also state right now that during this time, this was after a few different big events, which we'll cover later on here on the podcast, but Lex Luthor is a part of the Justice League during this time, so he has a little bit more on the communication side and a little bit more say in conversations. Now Superman just takes the fight right to Doomsday, though, after this, determining he doesn't want to put everyone into trouble, and he promised to keep them all safe. So he takes Doomsday, flies around the galaxy, and beats the ever-living shit out of him, and Doomsday beats the ever-living shit out of him as well, just like the Superman and Lois TV show, which, by God, is a great TV show. Now they do land back on Earth, and that is where Superman decides to end it once and for all. Now, how in the fuck does he do that? Well, he takes Doomsday and just rips him in half. Now, Superman does inhale his, as you could say, the aura of Doomsday, the little bit of virus there, and it infects him, causing him a little bit of distress, a little bit of physical illness. So he flies back to the fortress, chills with Krypto, and tries to sleep the whole damn thing off. Now, Batman is investigated because Superman has been missing for a little bit of time here after that battle. And they're wondering what the hell happened to Superman. And they find that Krypto is actually now sick with the Doomsday virus. He's sick as hell, like he was around Doomsday, which he wasn't, which is mysterious. And then the Phantom Zone actually has a portal open. The Phantom Zone is an interdimensional portal, one-dimensional device, and a device opens a portal, sends you into the Phantom Zone, interdimensional area that stores all the prisoners/villains from Krypton, and then, of course, Superman on Earth. It is like the best prison of all time, quote-unquote, most of the time. Sometimes. Kind of not really. But, other than that, they go in there. But, of course, who's joining Batman in this? Well, it's the lover of Superman at the time, Wonder Woman. She is joining, and because Crypto goes right in there looking for the Master, and of course he goes looking for Clark, but Batman and Wonder Woman do follow suit, where they run into Mongrel, the big-ass yellow-skinned bastard, alien giant Hulk dude in control of War World, which is the Death Star times 5, giant planet machine gun thing. And of course he is with Non, a giant-ass hulking Kryptonian as well. So when the Hulks stick together, they're going to make a good team. Believe it or not, though, they are actually kind of nervous when they run into Batman and Wonder Woman, because apparently Doomsday, who was put in there, matured to a full adult and literally punched a hole through the fucking universe. Yes, we're at Superboy Prime level right now. Doomsday punched a hole through the Phantom Zone and got out. This is where they team up with the DC Comics character of Ghost Soldier, who does appear to help him out. Because, of course, why the fuck not? Some of the writers definitely like Ghost Soldier at the time. Now, this is where Zod Do, a General Zod-type villain who's covered in rags and looks like a mummy with a spacesuit. He has arrived and says he was working with a team called the Tower to take down Superman and to use Doomsday. Didn't realize Doomsday was a full-grown adult, though, and realized he fucked up very much. And it's part of the reason why Doomsday's now out. And he also does give Batman and Wonder Woman the information that since Doomsday's mature, once he was killed with the virus, because he has the virus in him, once he was killed by Superman, Doomsday will be able to merge with Superman and become an Ultra Doomsday, a.k.a. Superdoom, which is a term you will hear a lot during this. And Superdoom is coined. It is not a thing I made up. The toy figure line actually said Superdoom, and they said it in the comics. There's just something about that, though. Superdoom. Maybe it's because I had a few drinks while recording this. Who the fuck knows? Alrighty, so they leave the Phantom Zone, of course. And they do take Zod in custody as well. And during this time, Superman surrendered himself to Lex Luthor because he knew Lex would have a prison for him. And Superman is going through some physical deformities. He has horns growing out of his eyes are red. Horns growing out of his chin. His horns are growing out of his arms, but they haven't poked through the fucking suit. He's looking very much like not himself, and he's not behaving like he's like, oh, hello, guys. Like that sicky kind of you. But who shows up, of course, is Brainiac Lois Lane. Well, Lois Lane, inhabited by Brainiac. She shows up there and puts mental images, because she has a power being Brainiac. She puts in mental images of the Teen Titans of this time facing a robotic villain, and they are on death's door, apparently. And she convinces Clark that he needs to break out and go do it. So what does Clark do? He breaks out, saves the Teen Titans by crushing into the fucking villain right away. And then Teen Titans are scared shitless because they're looking at a possessed Superman. And he's like, hey, guys, did I help? At all? No, because even Tim Drake, Red Robin at the time is like, guys, get the fuck out of here. We gotta go. Like, he just said, team out, something's wrong here. And then Superman is like, oh, no. And the U.S. government sees this at the time, too, and they decide Superman is going to become Doomsday. What do? They grab all the kryptonite they can and go ahead and make it into a bomb. And they said, well, if we kryptonite bomb his ass, then, you know what, maybe it'll kill him, or at least subdue him, so his Doomsday won't come out. And they do that. What happens, though, is, well, doesn't really work out too well, because it lowers his Kryptonian side and allows the Doomsday side to come out a little bit more. John Henry Irons is, of course, coming to help out Clark and say, hey, you need to stop this stuff, and doesn't really work out. Because it says, oh, no. He accidentally flings with his anger. John Henry Irons, a.k.a. Steel, the dude in the steel suit, flings him around the globe, of course, by accident. Now, when the bomb did go off, though, of course, Superman did lose control, so the Doomsday Monster did come out. Now, during his reign of destruction, Wonder Woman did see that he was holding back. How she fucking knows, I don't know, but again, it's her boyfriend, so maybe she knows something we don't. So, she grabs the lasso of truth, wraps it around him, and then takes him out in the space area a little bit to try to talk to him. And takes him out of the kryptonite-infused atmosphere. The Superman returns to normal, quote-unquote, a little bit, horns still sticking out, and thanks her for bringing him back, but says he needs to go to space to actually get help to figure all this out. So he flies in the space. And who else flies in the space? Well. Steel and Lana Lane, of course, the lover of Superman, who was investigating the comatose patients in Smallville. Steel and Lana do some investigation into those comatose patients and find out they're sending signals out into space and that they're talking to someone. So they board a spacecraft, because it's DC, so you have that. They board a spacecraft and get the fuck into space. Superman, as Superdoom, rages around the galaxy, of course, well, the universe, trying to, release a little bit of the virus so he can calm down again. And where does he run into? Well, little crossover with the previous episode. He runs into Red Lantern's Supergirl. And if you're interested in how Kara Zor-El became a Red Lantern, well, Supergirl becoming a Red Lantern is a episode on the previous feed here on the LorePod podcast. So check out the previous episode of that to find out that whole fucking story, which is wild. And it actually ties into this. Supergirl then tries to talk to him as a Superdoom and try to convince him to use his anger and try to release it in a more positive way because she knows who he is as Kal-El Superman. Well, and what happens? Well, they find a planet of aliens, and there's a villain, of course. And he's using asteroids to block the evacuation routes of the people there so he could absolutely obliterate them and stuff. Classic villainy, of course. And what happens? Well, Superman, Kara just books fucking feet. She's like, I got my own shit to do. I'm going back to Earth, like you said. And fucking flies back to Earth and doing her adventure. Again, check out the previous LorePod podcast. But Superman lets loose into there through the asteroids and shit, allowing the prisoners to get free, or the evacuation people to get free, and then, of course, just obliterates the fucking villain. Doesn't say if he dies or not, but probably dies, considering Superdoom just needs you in the stomach. Now, Steel and Lana Lane did find a fleet of Brainiac ships under the control of Cyborg Superman, which is terrifying in New 52, 1,000%. And one day we'll do an episode on who the fuck Cyborg Superman is, so stay tuned for that. But of course, they send out a distress signal to Superman, who then arrives and helps take down Cyborg Superman temporarily and shit, and lets absolute loose. I bet Cyborg Superman and the fleet of robots were not expecting that. Now, during this time, a few were able to get through, so the Brainiac ships do to invade Earth, and there's a whole nother Brainiac invasion of Earth. Tell me if you heard that one before. And during this time, no, well, Brainiac needs a commander on the ground, so he fully takes control of Lois, making the skin green and the 3 dots appear in her head and the red eyes. Lois has become a new avatar for Brainiac. And, of course, though, during this time, the heroes of everywhere are fighting back, because it's good writing, because you got to do that in DC World. Superdoom does come and tries to, let loose a little bit, but in order to help out, but he can't hold back the beast of Doomsday for too much longer. Batman and Lex Luthor realize they need to clear the kryptonite from the atmosphere because that is what is allowing Doomsday to fully come out because it is subduing the Kryptonian side of Clark. And they need that side to stay above so then he can hold back Doomsday virus. Now, of course, as I said, the heroes are helping out here. Martian Manhunter did agree to try to help out there mentally with Clark to try to bring him back. But as Superman comes to help him out with the Brainiac ships, the virus actually catches the trees on fire, sending him into a whole frenzy because Martian Manhunter's weakness is fire, because he needs a weakness, I guess. But then Clark is able to help him out through that madness as well and help him get back on his feet. Due to Martian Manhunter putting a mental block on Clark and helping him through it as well. Now, Superdoom does team up with Martian Manhunter and Gold Soldier to take on the Brainiac forces, and this is where they run into Brainiac Lois Lane, and they do fight it the fuck out. But Lois and Clark, on a telepathic level, are talking to each other. Basically, two people who have lost control of their bodies due to extraterrestrial forces. What else are you going to talk about? And they want to take back their body. Now, Superman does use the Doomsday virus, and it's all its lethal properties, to say the least, and purges the Brainiac from Lois Lane, helping her out, making her human once again. During this time, Batman uses Zod to help actually purge the atmosphere during this time, because this is high-stakes fucking moment with everything happening here. Because if Doomsday fully comes out in Clark, it is game over, and everyone knows it. Now, what does he do for Zod? He does the most 90s to 80s comic book thing I've ever fucking heard of. He uses Zod to make mini portals to absorb the kryptonite particles in the atmosphere. Yep, that happened in the mid-2000s. Yeah, because why the fuck not, I guess, right? You need a quick, easy solution. You can't write your way out of that one. Now, with the kryptonite atmosphere, Superman is able to subdue the Doomsday virus. But then Brainiac, in a last-ditch fucking effort, mentally controls a huge amount of the heroes and the population of Earth to his will with a telepathic blast. Now, Martian Manhunter and Superdoom do board the main Brainiac ship in order to help out here. And during this time, though, Mongol and not Zon, actually broke out of the Phantom Zone. They saw Brainiac invading and said, fuck this. we will die, and went back into the Phantom Zone and said, meh, nah, peace. They were the Grandpa Simpson from fucking the Simpsons TV show in the brothel where he's like, do, sees Bart, takes up hat, leaves the fuck out in a giant circle. They literally did that. And of course, so Wonder Woman is like, hell no, my man's in trouble. And so she follows Mongol and makes a deal with him for the War World, which is, of course, like I mentioned in the beginning of the podcast, a giant planet weapon. It is a giant planet-sized weapon with multiple guns on it, lasers, all the shit. Now, in the high-stakes fucking shit happening here, Superman does let loose Doomsday in there. He lets loose the virus here, which, of course, transforms his skin. In case we didn't really mention it before, when he lets loose, it transforms his skin to gray. The body parts come out, and he's a Doomsday Superman hybrid, and it looks metal as hell. Now, Brainiac tries to reach Clark, though, on a telepathic level, because he knows Clark is still inside the body, and we get the classic Brainiac backstory of he's collecting the worlds, he's collecting people and knowledge and information, because he is trying to save everyone and create a new multiverse of worlds. Maybe there's a reason why. We'll get to that later. War World does appear, Wonder Woman at the helm, and does attack Brainiac's ships, knocking Brainiac on his ass. And what do Clark and Lois do? They telepathically go in the Brainiac's head, try to convince him to stop all of this shit. Brainiac, though, is able to outmaneuver them mentally and then merges with Superdoom, causing a Superdoom Brainiac hybrid, a.k.a. the end of everything we know. And during this aggression, though, it does punch a hole in the universe, causing a black hole to appear. And that's where Superman is able to regain control from Brainiac, and he's able to grab Brainiac and such and push him into the black hole, which does put Brainiac in the places in between the multiverse that does create a storyline for the future. Not right now, though. As far as we know, he's gone, because Superman need to get rid of his ass. And this is the end of the storyline. Brainiac's forces have been defeated. Superman overcomes the virus there. And, of course, so he has to go through a few little side stories, try to purge it, try to overcome it, try to live with it and such as well, and try to put a good public image again in the Superman of the zeitgeist, and for the Justice League, of course. But this has been another episode of the Lore Pod Podcast, talking to you about the Doomsday virus from DC Comics from back in the New 52 days. I've been host Dakota Morgan. Of course, as always, subscribe to whatever you're listening on. And you can always catch us on YouTube, lorepod.podbean.com, Apple Podcasts, or Spotify, wherever you're listening to the podcast. Be sure to subscribe. Leave us a review. Helps us out fucking greatly. And, of course, as always, I'm on X, Dakota Morgan 3, Instagram at Dakota_Morgan97, and Twitch, CodaRex97. And all this is going to be in the description box down below, because it makes it easy for you. And, of course, as always, everyone, stay creative.